Good morning, viewers, and welcome to another Onside SA soccer show. Paul is away for the next couple of weeks with his family in the UK, so joining us, as usual, our regular super sub and Manning Rangers League winner, Gavin Radford. Gav?
Morning, Butch. Good
Welcome
to be
back.
here again. Yeah, good to be back. Been in the wilderness for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, good to be back. Soccer's heating up.
Yeah, you're right. Nice Christmas period ahead of us. We kick off as normal with our last one standing. Going into week 6, we had 10 entries still going. Sadly, Leicester took care of Powers and Anthony Sewer, while Chelsea saw the end of Luke Bowman and John Biscoby, while Southampton were terrible when losing at home to West Ham, which ended Michael McManus's hopes. We have 4 people left, namely Emerson Verathea, Guillaume Nell and Paddy Loca, who all survived on Sheffield United, while Dylan Horn had no problems with Man City outclassed Arsenal. So 4 going into week 7, they all have Wolves to use, and 3 of the 4 have Man United to use. Now, Gab, of the 2, would you go Man United or Wolves?
Well, I think they're both good picks. I would lean towards Man United, playing Watford on the bottom. I know Watford will come out and try to win, but I think United are the ones that are finding the consistency now. So I think that's the right one to go for this weekend.
All right, so let's see.
I think 3 of the 4 are Liverpool supporters as well. So,
yeah, and Guillaume's a Chelsea man, so...
Well. Good luck to them. I mean, you've done well to get this far.
No, you're right. Week 7, not easy. We're now going to cross over to our UK correspondent, Stevie Brahm, who has got a little bit of flu. So, you know, we won't keep Steve on the line too long. Steve, are you there?
Guys.
Morning, Steve. Weather nice and cool there?
Yeah, pretty chilly.
All right. Talking of chilly weather, I see at Liverpool, we never had the game, unfortunately, last night. They sneaked in against Monterrey from Mexico.
They did. It wasn't a particularly impressive performance. And what was a surprise is that obviously having committed themselves to taking their first team squad over for the tournament, they actually started the game with some of their key players on the bench.
Yeah.
And actually, in the first half, they really did struggle to break down the Monterrey side. They took the lead, gave away a fairly sloppy equaliser, and after that, Monterrey had the better chances. Second half, they brought Mane on, then they brought Firmino on at the end, but they looked a bit disjointed, and I couldn't really understand. They played Jordan Henderson as a centre half, and it just wasn't a natural position for him. But ultimately, they've got through, and you have to assume they will play their strongest available side against Flamenco. Otherwise, the South Americans will be too strong for them.
Yeah, you can't blame them. I just read a clip this morning. They said Virgil van Dijk had a sickness. Is that right?
So he didn't play, and I guess, obviously, if he's back in the team, Alexander Trent-Arnold was rested. They'll bring him in. They brought him on in the second half. He made the goal for Firmino. I think they'll put out their strongest available 11 again, because Flamenco, it's very interesting listening to some South American football correspondents, and Flamenco, for them, this is a huge game.
Yeah.
I think for Liverpool, it's another game, but I think the way it tends to work is that these South American sides feel very overshadowed by the Champions League, and I think any opportunity they get to play a Champions League's winner, they really want to up their game and to try and show that maybe South American clubs are the equal of their European counterparts.
Yeah, I think money aside, they have all the skill. Now, talking about skill, El Clasico last night was a disappointment from me. A 0-0 draw. Did you watch it, Steve?
No. It's interesting because we this year, La Liga is only on a separate pay-per-view channel, which, for whatever reason, they've decided to do that. But I saw the highlights online afterwards, and actually, with the backdrop of the political unrest, it makes you wonder whether or not the teams were almost sort of playing sort of within themselves a bit. I heard it was very uneventful, a disallowed goal. They took the unprecedented step. The teams stayed at the same hotel and travelled to the ground together to try and avoid any incidents involving the Real Madrid sort of players.
Yeah.
And actually, the first goalless draw in 17 years, it sort of makes you wonder whether they were sort of almost sort of told, look, play the game, but let's not be too controversial here. There were none of these games where you got players sent off from either side. So I guess they're just pleased that the authorities, they just got through it.
Yeah, it was a fiery encounter, by the way. I think there were 8 people booked, but
Okay,
really
so I guess,
disappointed in
look,
Barca. But I didn't know about the riots because we never had anything here in South Africa until I read this morning. But it's the first time I've ever heard of a big game like that. 2 teams travelling in the same bus.
Yeah, and I think that's they did that, and there was sort of an unbelievable amount of security in and outside of the ground. I think the authorities were just really happy it went off, and in the end, obviously, a draw probably doesn't really help either team any more than the other. They're both there at the top of the La Liga.
Yeah. Well, what I saw from last night, I think Real Madrid are a far better team than Barca. But as you say, you never know what was behind the scenes.
Sure.
Talking about behind the scenes, I see Man United drew Man City in the League Cup semi-final.
Yes, 2-leg affair. The first leg will be at Old Trafford. The second week of January, and then at the end of January will be the game at the Etihad. Look, United beat them recently. They got those bragging rights, but I think it'll be hard for United to beat City over 2 legs.
Yeah.
City do take this competition very seriously. United put out a very strong side against Colchester, who were quite stubborn. I saw sort of some of the highlights. They didn't give much away in the first half. Once United scored the first, the floodgates sort of opened. They got sort of 3 in short order. But to be a good game. I think everyone enjoys watching those derby games.
Steve, onto the Premiership, a lot of managerial debate. Is Carlo Ancelotti going to take the Everton job?
It looks like it. I mean, the last I sort of read is that they're just negotiating his contract. They're talking about a 4.5-year deal, which, interesting, he doesn't really stay places that long anymore. But, my understanding is he really did favour the Arsenal job, but for whatever reason that hasn't happened. And, I think it's a good move. I think that the idea is they'll keep Duncan Ferguson in a coaching capacity because he's obviously got that team playing with a bit more passion. So, bring a bit of nous. I wonder what they've promised him in the way of money available. I suspect they will do. So it's going to be interesting. But certainly the way they've played in recent weeks, they've shown a lot more spirit, Everton.
Yeah, I agree. Now, talking of Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, is that a good thing? According to the bookmakers, it is. He takes over.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because obviously he was a very classy player. Playing when he had a few years at Arsenal. In a way, it's interesting that they've gone for him and not a much bigger name. Maybe they feel that the few years he's had working under Pep would have rubbed off, and he would have learnt some of the special way that sort of Pep gets teams going. What does seem to be interesting is that it sounds like a deal has pretty much been done, but City are saying that they won't stand in Arteta's way, but Arsenal have not actually made a formal approach to them. So as far as they're concerned, Arsenal have got to make a formal approach and will have to pay them some compensation. So it seems a bit strange that all of this is out in the open, but Arsenal have not actually entered into direct negotiations with City for the release of his contract.
She doesn't make sense, that. I must say, Steve, other than the money, and it's a great opportunity for Arteta, I wouldn't want to take that Arsenal job because that's an accident waiting to happen, especially with that defence.
He's again like Lampard did at Chelsea. He's probably got a free pass this season because unless they're going to make some money available, I don't think there's a lot he can do with that defence.
Yeah.
You probably have to bring another defensive coach in with him because watching them like last Sunday afternoon against Man City, they were just all over the place.
Yeah. How do you think they'll go at Everton Saturday lunchtime?
Well, I think just judging by the way both teams have been playing in recent weeks, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Everton win that. I mean, I think if Everton play with the same fight and passion as they showed in their home game against Chelsea, I'm not sure Arsenal's shaky defence will hold out. But you never know. I mean, look, we saw what Arsenal can do in that 10 minutes at West Ham.
Yeah.
But if you look at the way they played in that first half against City, I know City were sensational, Kevin De Bruyne particularly, but Arsenal defence, I think, will struggle against Everton.
Yeah, I agree. Talking of City, they host Leicester City on Saturday. How do you see that one?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a terrific game. I mean, obviously, it's important for either team win. They get back in there. If Leicester won that, then they create quite a gap between them and City and Chelsea. I've got a feeling if Kevin De Bruyne plays as he did against Arsenal, I mean, he was just unplayable. It's one of the best performances I've seen from a player in the Premier League this season. I wouldn't be surprised if City win that. I think Leicester had a bit of a wobble last weekend, held by Norwich, sort of struggled to sort of break them down. I think it will be a really good game. I'm looking forward to that, but I think City might just edge that.
Yeah, I agree. Another big game this weekend is Tottenham versus Chelsea. Can Mourinho pull one over his old club?
I think he can. He's obviously got Tottenham playing well. They've won all but one of their games. Chelsea just seem. I mean, they are playing better away from home, as we know. Although they came and stuck at Everton, another poor defeat for them against Bournemouth, and I just wonder that. I think the fact that I understand that the purse strings will be released, it's quite possible, I think, that Frank Lampard will go out and spend some money because maybe just a little bit too much pressure on all these young players at the moment. Yeah. They find themselves not that far clear of and a win for Tottenham puts them up. They catch Chelsea, so I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham win that.
Okay. Norwich are at home after a good result at Leicester against Wolves, who in my opinion should have beaten Spurs. How do you see that one going, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, that was a good result. I mean, I think you wouldn't have put money on Norwich holding them. I fancy Wolves. I think I was surprised that they lost to Spurs. I thought that they would hold them, but they'll come back strong, and I think that's either going to be a draw or possibly an away win there.
Okay. Aston Villa versus Southampton.
I think Villa could win that. I was disappointed with Southampton. I watched the game last Saturday evening against West Ham, and they were very poor. So. They had a couple of good home wins, but again, struggling team Southampton. But I think this is the game Villa need to win. So I think they will.
All right. And last but not least in the Premiership, Watford against Man United.
Yeah, well, Watford can't buy a win at the moment, and certainly can't at home. They're showing a bit more spirit. They've obviously got Nigel Pearson there, will get them fighting. But I think United, just starting to find a little bit of form. I think they'll be too strong.
Oh, let's hope so. You've got 4 guys left in the last one standing, Steve. They've got to pick between Wolves and Wolves and Man United. Which one would you go to of the two?
Personally, I go for United.
United, eh? All right. Steve, on to the championship. You'll obviously be at the cottage watching your boys play Leeds. Yeah. Can you cause an upset?
I think, you can't make excuses. We have got some players out injured, but we've hit a bit of a wall the last week or so. We had those 3 defeats in a row. Leeds, I know they came unstuck in the second half against Cardiff, but 7 wins in a row before that, playing some good football. I think Leeds are going to be too strong for us. I just think our defence not going to be able to cope with the way that Leeds break at pace.
All right. Now, how do you see my boys Preston going at Cardiff City?
Yeah, I mean, again, the same sort of thing, but the other way around. Preston had this awful run, come back with a couple of wins. Cardiff had a really good result at Leeds, to come back from 3-0 down at half-time, a player sent off to get a 3-3 draw. I just got a feeling that they're just showing a little bit more fight, Cardiff. At home, they're obviously a strong side. I think that's going to be a tough game for North End.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I agree with you. Now, London Derby, well, I think it is QPR at home against Charlton.
Yeah, well, again, QPR, one of these teams, had a shocking run, but they've come back with a couple of wins. Yeah. I think they'll be too strong for Charlton. Charlton, unfortunately, just can't buy a win themselves. No win in 10. They'll try hard, but I think QPR will just edge that.
Yeah, the big game seems to be West Brom against 4th place Brentford. Can Brentford cause an upset?
I think they can. They're playing some very attractive football. They really go for it. On the road, it's been interesting. They've won 5, lost 6. Yeah. But West Brom just seem to be, in a very rich vein of form at the moment, unbeaten since earlier in the season. It could go either way. Brentford are a very exciting team, but West Brom just seem to have this knack of winning at the moment, and I think they will do. I think they'll just dig out a result.
Yeah, I agree. That West Brom, what's the West Brom-Birmingham game? Birmingham couldn't do any more than they did. They had all the chances, played great, and Charlie Austin came on, scored the 2 goals, and he just seems to be the X factor at the moment for them.
Yeah, no, I think that winning's a habit, and they really are on a run. I thought a few weeks ago that their bubble might burst a bit.
Yeah.
Had a couple of games where they came from behind, but actually, they're really in a good position. And Leeds and West Brom have created a big gap between them and third place now.
All right. And Steve, last but not least, Millwall at home to Barnsley.
Well, Millwall have had a tremendous run under Gary Rowett.
Yeah. 2
big wins away from home at Bristol City and Derby. Barnsley had a good win last week, only their second win this season. I think Millwall will be too strong, especially at the Den. They don't lose many there.
Yeah, I agree. Steve, thank you very much. Let's hope you get rid of the flu. Are you taking Paul tomorrow to watch your boys, or should I say on Saturday?
No. I suspect he'll be wanting to watch. Tottenham playing Chelsea, aren't they?
That's on Sunday.
Oh, Sunday. Yeah, no, not sure, but I'm just looking forward to getting there, and if nothing else, I hope we give them a good game. Mitrovic obviously hasn't scored in a couple of games, but it'd be interesting to see how good Leeds are. Certainly away from home, this would be very exciting to watch.
Yeah, all right. Steve, as usual, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And enjoy the weekend.
Yeah, talk to you guys soon.
All the best, Steve.
Bye,
Thank you again. Gav, knowledgeable man.
Yeah, he knows his game inside out. It's good to be in the UK and so close to touching them. There's so much information about the clubs, and a lot of the guys are so passionate about their own club.
Yeah.
They get the real detail, and Steve's really a good boy, you can see him.
He's good up, great asset to the show. On to the Premiership, which obviously going into Christmas is games coming thick and fast. We start lunchtime kickoff, Everton-Arsenal.
Well, I agree with Steve. I think Everton can get a result in this game. I mean, there's some good prices available in this game.
Yeah.
Arsenal away from home's always had a bad record. They're going through a managerial change. I think Everton playing with a bit of passion. Duncan's got them fired up again.
Yeah.
Coming down from 2-0 down last night to 2-2. Showed a good bit of fights coming back into the game.
Yeah.
I think at home 16-10 could be a bit of value.
Yeah, I agree. I looked at over 2.5 goals as 8-10. I'll have a look at that, but I agree. I was impressed. In between the Barcelona game last night, that was a game I was watching. I couldn't believe they were 2-0 down. They had 10 minutes of the game, but I agree, 16-10 looks a good price. Now, Aston Villa against Southampton. For me, it all depends on their centre-half, Tyrone Mings. He got injured against Leicester. Remember, he never came off and Vardy scored. Southampton were dreadful against West Ham on Monday.
Yeah, Southampton just can't seem to get a full 90 minutes from their players. They're playing in patches. And I think there's another value bet for the guys out there. Aston Villa, I think, is good value at 14-10. I think they're the team that's maybe finding a little bit more form and scoring a few more goals than Southampton. Tricky game, but I'm leaning towards Aston Villa.
Difficult game, I agree. Now, the next game I just have no feeling about, purely because Burnley hit and miss. Set piece wise, that's their game. They always score. Bournemouth were dreadful until they went at Chelsea. Chelsea never scored a couple of chances. And in the end, I thought Bournemouth were deserved winners.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, the 90-minute whistle goes, and then whoever scores wins the games. Bournemouth had so many injuries as well for this game against Chelsea, and then they still stuck it out and fired for the 90 minutes. So if you put the effort in, you're going to get the result at the end of the day. Tough game to call. Burnley, like you say, very strong on set piece. I'm leaning towards the draw in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Now, another game which has a draw written all over is Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace was slightly fortunate against Brighton, so we'll go into the Brighton game later. How do you see Newcastle Palace going?
Well, they've got the support behind them at Newcastle, so on that basis and the way they're playing, I think I'm going to lean towards Newcastle in the draw. Yeah, I think Palace are just, maybe if the game plan is just petered out a little bit. I know the games are going to come thick and fast. I'm leaning towards Newcastle to get a positive result.
Yeah, I just think Newcastle have tightened it up defensively. This is 0-0, 1-1 written all over it for me. Now, Brighton against Palace on Monday. I was really impressed with Brighton. Sahar scores a good goal to get them out of it. Sheffield United haven't lost in 8 games away from home.
Gee, this is the surprise package of the year, these guys. I mean, they really punched above their weight this year. They look like they're hungry for it. Looks like every game's a cup final for them. They get 100% effort. Brighton, new manager, he's done well for them. He's got them playing football. They're trying to play at the back. So I'm just hoping that this game lives up to the billing, because it could be a real cracker game, this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Hopefully this game is on. Well, it should be on. But I can't see Brighton losing that. On to our second page, we've got Norwich, who's, for me, I can't still believe that Leicester didn't beat them. At home against the Wolves team. How do you see that?
Yeah, Wolves are a fantastic team. I mean, you just listen to Mourinho's comments about them playing them last week, how tough they are to beat and to break down. I think Wolves are a top side. It's very hard for Norwich to get something from this game. I'm leaning towards Wolves very strong in this game.
I agree. I couldn't believe I made Spurs my best bet last week, but watching the United game, and I taped it, and what's the last half an hour? How Spurs won, I still don't know, even though it was a good header. Now, Man City-Leicester is the big game, or position-wise. City...
This is going to tell Brendan Rodgers how good his team really is, because Man City just pass you off the park. They have so many touches on the ball. It's about keeping your discipline against them. Can Leicester hold them out? This is their big test, but I think Man City are far too strong for them, especially at home.
Their midfield, when they played Norwich, they just seem to let the Norwich creative players cruise in and out. You do that with De Bruyne and Silva, you're in for a long afternoon.
Steve was saying De Bruyne is one of the best players in the Premier League, and he really played well last week. Any young kid that's watching football needs to watch him how to play. He's really a fantastic player. So Man City for me.
For me, he's the best creative or attacking player. Van Dijk has obviously got the stature as the best player in England, but for me, De Bruyne is in a different league. Now, Watford against United, I couldn't believe the stat that I'd seen. David De Gea has conceded a league goal in the last 12 league games.
Well, United, our defence has been our Achilles heel for about 2-3 seasons, and he's the one that's been saving us. So when you look at the stats like that, it's quite hard to blame the keeper when you're looking at the defence. But in saying that, I think United have now turned the corner, and I know they didn't get a good result for them last week. But a Watford team that is struggling, they just can't seem to put a game together. If Man United don't get a positive result, I'll be very disappointed. I think 8 to 10 could be the value bet.
For me, this is a trick game. We've had a couple of good runs. This is going to be panel beating of the highest order. True Deeney and the guys. And they had a lot of chances against Liverpool. I know they've only scored 9 goals in there. I think it's 16 league games. They need a little bit of luck. Hopefully for us United men, it doesn't come this weekend.
I hope the youngsters are up for this game, because the two boys up front for Watford, they can really play. They really get about you and they put the boots on. So they must prepare to battle this one.
Be queuing up. The last game is Tottenham versus Chelsea. My co-host Paul Lafferty will no doubt be at the game. Mourinho?
Yeah, well, all those guys have said Mourinho parks the bus and this and that, and they're all praising him now. He's a top manager, so I think he's got top players at Spurs, and I think they're a good side. Tough game, big game. I think this could be the game of the weekend. I'm leaning towards Spurs, home ground. Crowd will be passionate. Good fixture this. I think everybody looks forward to this on their calendar. I'm leaning towards Spurs at 14 to 10.
Well, I hope for Paul's sake. I just got a funny feeling. Chelsea, I think, have lost 4 of the last 5. Haven't really caught it, but every time they come back from a Champions League midweek game, they get beat. Frank Lampard, this is your time. I think this will be a cagey game. Both of them want to get beat.
They have to look. I mean, Frank's got to look at this game and say this could be his season. He gets a positive result, he's on the right track. If his youngsters also don't pitch up for the game, there could be problems for them later down the line, because the next game comes on Tuesday, the next game comes Saturday. The games come quickly, so to get a game like this under the belt and positive result will take you forward. But looking at Mourinho, he'll get this game under the belt for them.
Well, all the Spurs fans, and remember, it's 4th versus 5th, so it's a major Champions League implication onto this game. Onto the Championship, where I'll run through it quickly. It starts on Friday night, Middlesbrough at home to Stoke. 2 struggling teams. Middlesbrough can't buy a win, but at home they're obviously hard to beat. Stoke City under the Michael O'Neill, who's taken over as a Northern Ireland manager. They've won 3 and drawn 3 of the last 6 games. The draw looks the right bet at 22 to 10 for me in that particular game. My beloved Preston travel to Cardiff City. Now, Cardiff City have got the 3rd best home record. Preston have struggled away from home. Sadly, I hope we can get a point. I don't see it, but win and draw for me in Cardiff there. Fulham versus Leeds United. As Steve said, Fulham can't buy a win. They've lost their last 3. Leeds are on a roll. I just can't see them continuing to score late on to get results. I think there's going to be goals in this. While I don't see Leeds getting beat, 26 to 10, the draw looks a good bet to me in that particular game. Huddersfield versus Notts Forest. Notts Forest are 8th. Purely because their away record is superb. At the City Ground, they've been disappointing of late, and I don't see them getting beat at Huddersfield Town. So win and draw, Notts Forest for me. On to our second page, Hull City versus Birmingham. Hull City are going well at home, but I watched Birmingham City at home against West Brom last week. They didn't deserve to score. Their striker Jukovic is a quality player, and I think there'll be goals in this game. In the exotics, it's all 3. I've just got a funny feeling Birmingham City are going to pull the upset. Swansea City are struggling of late. They've only won one of the last 8. But Luton Town have conceded more goals than any other team in the Championship. They were unlucky last week when they conceded late when losing at Preston. But Swansea City, who have got a good away record, I don't see them getting beat at Luton Town. Millwall look good things against Barnsley. Gary Wright's taken over. They've won 4 and drawn 3 of the last 7 league matches under his command. They won last week away from home and facing a Barnsley team who have improved but still concede too many goals. I think Millwall are good things. The London derby, QPR versus Charlton. Charlton conceded at injury time last Friday night, when they drew 2-2 at home against Hull City. They haven't won in 9, and playing against a QPR team that are always capable of scoring goals. There's plenty of goals in the game, but I have to side with QPR. The third page in our championship is Reading at home to Derby. Derby haven't won in the last 9 away league games. They've drawn 3 and lost 6. And I don't see them getting a result at Reading, who've won 3 of the last 5 at home. 11-10 Reading looks a good bet to me. West Brom 11-10 at home against Brentford. They're unbeaten in the last 12 games. They score goals for fun. And I think the bookmakers have got this wrong. Brentford have won 8 of the and lost 3 of the last 11, but their last 2 away league games, they were beaten. And I think this will be 3 in a row. Sheffield Wednesday against Bristol City. Sheffield Wednesday had the result of last week when they went to Notts Forest and won 4-0. They're unbeaten in 7 and playing a Bristol City team who have been inconsistent of late. Sheffield Wednesday and the draw for me in that particular game. Our last game is a Lancashire derby between Blackburn Rovers and Wigan. Blackburn are flying of late. They've won 4 and drawn 1 of the last 5 home league games, and facing a Wigan team who've been terrible lately, haven't won in their last 10 and been poor away from home. Has to be Blackburn Rovers all day. On to the PSL, Gav. Tuesday night we had Bidvest playing against Sundowns, 1-1 in Durban.
Yeah, I think Sundowns might have been a little bit fatigued from the cup final, playing in Durban, a bit of a heavy pitch.
Yeah.
So positive result for Wits and for Sundowns. I think the draw should be a fair result.
Yeah, the league over?
No. The league's never over in South Africa. You got to chase it right down to the wire. I mean, there's some teams that you get into form and you go out of form.
Yeah.
And I think Wits had their little patch, and I think they're coming back stronger now. So I think Wits against Cape Town City this weekend will be a good result for them.
Okay. Friday, Bidvest Cape Town City. Surely it's got to be Wits.
Yeah, Wits at home at Mill Park, very, very tough to beat. Nice park to play on.
Yeah.
Nice and quick. I think the guys from Cape Town might find it the going a bit tough up there. I think Wits will win this one.
Yeah, struggling. Only thing is they've won the last 3 games against Wits in Johannesburg, but I agree. Cape Town City, I think they've won 1 of the last 11. It should be Wits all day. Baroka, 22 home league games. They've only had 1 victory. I think that was against Amazulu, against the Stellenbosch team who's struggling a late and dropped to the bottom.
Yeah, it's struggling. Both teams struggling. This is a tough game to call. I'm sure we lean towards a draw on these guys. Stellenbosch, funny enough, they play some good soccer. I mean, the team that got promoted, they're doing reasonably well. But the home form of Baroka tells you this is going to be one of those type of games that can go either way. So I'm sure we're going to go with the draw.
Yeah, me too. It's a 1-2-3 in all exotics. Now, Highlands Park, who since they got beaten at Telkom knockout by SuperSport, have been disappointing. Is this a chance to get back against the Golden Arrows side?
I like Golden Arrows. I think they're a good team. I think Steve's done a really good job with this team. They've got no big name players, but collectively they play really well together. I'm leaning to 2-1 for Golden Arrows to win this one.
Fancy Arrows. Every time I go for them, they let me down, but I agree. Now, Orlando Pirates 4-10 against Black Leopards, who at home are decent, away have struggled.
Yeah, I mean, the coach for Pirates, I think he's a young guy. I think he's a nice guy, but I think he might be a bit young for a big team like Pirates. They haven't been any consistency in their games the last 2 months. This game could go either way as well, but Pirates, you would think, should win the game like this if they want to get close to the league.
Yeah, I've gone with goals there. Pirates are good to watch. They have a full go going forward. Defensively, they're lacking. But 4-10, I wouldn't take. Our second page, we've got Sundowns against a Polokwane team who've lost the last 7. Surely it's got to be Sundowns.
Yeah, no, Sundowns, it's always been my team because they're the best team to pass the ball. They've really got the best squad in the league. I think 5-10, terrific bet if you want to get stuck into your doubles and things. Yeah. I think Polokwane have gone off the boil. Sundowns want to win the league again. I think they'll win this game comfortably. Yeah,
must win if they have to put a run together to take on Chiefs. Now, Chipper against SuperSport United. That's a Saturday night game in Nelson Mandela Bay. 18-10 Supersport.
Well, you talk about merry-go-rounds and coaches. I think this is one team, Chipper, that just
Every
you
week.
last 2 months and there's just 3 coaches. I mean, Supersport for me, I think they're good value in this game. They'll win this game. I think they'll win it comfortably.
Yeah, 18-10. I don't know what the bookmakers are, but hey, you know.
Well, they look at the draw. The draw is 17-10,
Yeah.
so it shows you the bookies are leaning towards a draw in this match. But I think Supersport, a little bit more quality, will get the result.
Yeah, me too. On to Sunday, we've got Bloem Celtic, who are surprisingly going well in the PSL against the Amazulu team, who's just above the relegation, the last place.
Amazulu are struggling this year. I mean, they just can't get any consistency to the game. As soon as they get a result against a good team, then you think they're going to kick on, then they just fall away. Celtic, always difficult to beat. Big, passionate crowd up in Bloem. I'm leaning towards Celtic for the home win.
Yeah, you know, I just worry. I went for Black Leopards against Amazulu 2 weeks ago, ended up 0-0. Amazulu's last 4 away games, they've scored 1, conceded 2. This has got a draw written all over it. If you don't score, you're going to be in trouble. And, you know, I agree with you, it should be Celtic, but hopefully the Lesotho can get a point. The last game is the big game of the weekend, Maritzburg United against Chiefs. Now, Maritzburg buried them in the Telkom knockout semi-final when I unfortunately went for Chiefs. Can you see that happening again?
Well, I mean, Maritzburg have improved leaps and bounds. I mean, they weren't disgraced in the cup final. They took the lead. They played some really good soccer. Just a couple of issues in the defending. But, I mean, they're going to give Chiefs a run for their money here.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards a draw in this game. I think Chiefs will come out a little bit nervous. Maritzburg, nothing to play for. I think, the coach for Maritzburg, he'll get them going. He'll get them fired up. Every time we play Chiefs, you've got to be fired up for the game. You know, this is a cup final for everybody playing Chiefs. And Chiefs on the roll, supporters are back. They're winning the league this year. So, I mean, it's going to be a good game, but I'm leaning towards the draw.
Yeah, he was. I'm glad he bit his tongue after that last-minute disallowed goal, which I thought was a goal, but we haven't really seen any VAR. And I think the best thing that could have happened in Maritzburg is to have a high-profile game like Kaizer Chiefs, get the players' focus back. I agree, but Maritzburg should have beat them 3 or 4-1, even though they did beat them 2-1. They murdered Chiefs.
They absolutely destroyed Chiefs that day. They could have been 5 or 6 up in that game. I couldn't believe how poor Chiefs were that day.
Yeah.
For a semi-final match when you should be looking forward to the final, they came out there and just never pitched up. I mean, Maritzburg really, really played. Tinkler's got them going. I think they're going to be tough to beat in Maritzburg. I think it'll be a nice big crowd there.
Yeah.
So I think get down to the ground.
Yeah, let's hope so. On to the soccer exotics for the weekend. We start with our Soccer 6, PSL and the Championship one. I've gone the field in the Baroka versus Stellenbosch game. Likewise, the Highlands Park Golden Arrows clash. I've gone Orlando Pirates looking for an upset win and draw at home against Black Leopards. I've banked Sundowns to beat Polokwane, Man City to beat Leicester, and while I fancy Supersport to beat Chipper United, we can spend 200 rand, so I have thrown in the draw, 2-1-6 for our first Soccer 6. Our second one is the English Premiership. I've gone the field in the Aston Villa Southampton game. Likewise, Bournemouth at home against Burnley. I don't see Brighton getting beat at home against Sheffield United. And I think Crystal Palace, I don't see them getting beat, even in a difficult environment at St James's Park. I've gone Crystal Palace win and draw at Newcastle. I think Wolves would be too good for Norwich City. And I make Man City good things to beat Leicester, 2-1-6. On to our Soccer 10. I've gone Baroka, win and draw at home against Stellenbosch. Highlands Park, win and draw at home against Golden Arrows. Orlando Pirates to win at home against Black Leopards. Aston Villa Southampton, I've gone the field in that particular game. Likewise, the Bournemouth versus Burnley match. Our second page, I've gone Brighton, win and draw at home against Sheffield United. I've gone with Crystal Palace, win and draw at Newcastle. And ended up with 3 bankers. Sundowns to beat Polokwane, Man City to beat Leicester, and Supersport United to beat Chipper United, 288. The Soccer 13 has a 19 million reportedly carryover, so this will be a 35 million pool, so get your thinking caps on. I've spent 435 rand and I've banked Man City to beat Leicester. I've sided with Aston Villa to get a good result at home against Southampton. I've gone Bournemouth, win and draw at home against Burnley. I've gone with Brighton, win and draw at home against Sheffield United. I've gone Crystal Palace, win and draw at Newcastle. I've banked Wolves to beat Norwich. I've gone Leeds United, win and draw at Fulham. Our second page, I've gone West Brom to beat Brentford. Birmingham City, win and draw at Hull City. I've banked QPR to beat Charlton. Reading to beat Derby, and ended up with 2 winning aways. I've got Notts Forest, win and draw at Huddersfield, and Swansea City, win and draw at Luton Down, 435.
But you're really going to test us on this Soccer 13
I'll
this
be
week.
testing
I think
you shortly.
with all the championship matches, as we know, it's so unpredictable.
It's
but
difficult, but
get your boys with the money and put a pool together. I think you catch this, you're going to be on the pound seats.
Nice Christmas bonus. On to my bets for the weekend. Starting the Premiership, where I've gone for a 4-team or quad. I've gone Wolves to beat Norwich City, and over 2.5 total goals in that particular game. I've gone Man City to score in both halves against Leicester City, and I've ended up going over 2.5 goals in the Everton Arsenal and Tottenham Chelsea games, 2,500 to 200. My championship treble, I've gone Millwall to beat Barnsley, I've gone West Brom to beat Brentford, and all 4 teams to score. So it's both teams to score at both bets. So that's why I put all 4. And I've gone over 2.5 goals in the London Derby, QPR versus Charlton, 3,800 to 200. Our PSL treble, I've gone Supersport United to win at Chipper United, and over 2.5 goals in the Orlando Pirates Black Leopards and Maritzburg Kaiser Chiefs fixtures, 16 to 1, 3,200 to 200. My English both teams to score sides are Bournemouth Burnley, Watford Man United, Hull Birmingham City, Luton Swansea, and Blackburn Wigan Athletic, 2,700 to 200. My Spanish bet for the weekend, I've gone Levante to beat Celta Vigo at home, and ended up with 3 games with over 2.5 goals, hopefully in them. Barcelona Alaves, Osasuna Real Sociedad, and Villarreal Getafe, worked out just over 15 to 1, 3,100 to 200. And our Collis King 6 on Nexa, I've gone Wolves to beat Norwich. I've gone Millwall to beat Barnsley, West Brom to beat Brentford, Real Madrid to beat Alaves, and Bayern Munich to beat Wolfsburg, 2,600 to 200. Gab, before I give my best bet, Soccer 13, it'll be 35 million out of it. Give the boys the bankers.
Well, I think Man City definitely for me is a banker. I think they'll be too good for Leicester. I'm leaning towards Wolves to beat Norwich, West Brom to beat Brentford, QPR to beat Charlton, and Swansea to beat Luton.
So you've got 5 bankers.
So that'll be my 5 bankers, and then we'll fire from there.
Well, you have to find bankers and then you go. My best bet of the weekend is West Brom at home. They're 11 to 10 to beat Brentford. I can't believe the price. I've checked, there's no injuries. I know they've been a little bit lazy with conceding goals, but they're scoring goals for fun. And 11 to 10 to me looks a gift. My best Premiership bet is 9.5 to 10 Wolves. I think they'll beat Norwich. My best value bet for the weekend is Supersport United. I can't believe they're 18 to 10. Reports that I've read recently, they've got all their players back, Gabuza, Krobler, you name them, and I think they'll be too good at home for Chipper. Gab, how do you see it?
Yeah, well, I'm going for a treble this weekend. I think Man United are showing some signs of getting back together and scoring goals. So Man United at 8 to 10, QPR at 7 to 10, and Wits University at 12 to 10. I think they're a good treble, run about 8 to 1.
All right, Gab, good luck. Thank you very much for watching the Onside SA Soccer Show. Have a safe and happy punting weekend. Goodbye.